Was geht ab, Leute? Vielen Dank, dass ihr wieder eingeschaltet habt und herzlich willkommen zurück zu Starfield. Wenn ich mich richtig erinnere, sind wir in Londonien gewesen und sollen jetzt Vae Victus mal einen Bericht abstatten, einen Besuch abstatten, weil wir vermuten, dass er hinter den Angriffen steckt, die es in New Atlantis gab, beziehungsweise auch den davor auf Planet XY3Z. Keine Ahnung, wie der hieß.
Pumping retros.
Äh,
Orbit achieved.
Warum werde ich gerufen?
Equalizing. Done.
You again. You're advised to leave this orbit immediately. The United Colonies will not be...
Ja, Bruder, ich war schon da unten. Hör auf mich anzustinkern, Alter. So. Dann wollen wir mal. Ja, für euch auf YouTube auch mal. Ich muss mal gucken, wie gut das hier jetzt alles funktioniert. Mit Reden und sonstiges. Mir wurde gestern nämlich ein Zahn gezogen. Hallo. Aber soweit aktuell alles in Ordnung. Aber mal gucken.
I love the feeling after a perfect jump.
Ich hoffe nicht, dass da noch irgendwie was kommt.
Be advised. You have been identified as a known criminal.
Hä?
Respond immediately or you're on the wanted list. Halt and prepare to be boarded or we will be forced to open fire.
Wieso bin ich auf der Wanted List? Wollt ihr mich verarschen?
Copy that. Stay on course while we escort you in.
Hä? Was habe ich denn bitte gemacht? Was soll der Hass? Das ist also, das ist jetzt ja wohl, also, das ist jetzt, also, das ist ja wohl eine Frechheit.
New Atlantis puts on a wonderful show of security, does it not?
Sag mal, bin ich in Mexiko oder was ist hier los? Warum ist hier alles so orange-braun? Sag mal, also, warum wurde ich jetzt verhaftet?
Pardon. Hello.
Okay. Ja, ich wurde einfach verhaftet. Natürlich, warum auch nicht? Und so kann man halt mal anfangen, ne? Weißt du, 3 Tage nicht gespielt und dann wirst du plötzlich verhaftet. So macht man das halt. Okay. So, ab zum Mass District. Ja, wir haben herausgefunden, Thermoparasiten gleich Babys der Terrormorphs. Und wir sollen... Beziehungsweise wir haben ja aktuell den Verdacht, dass Vae Victus mit den Angriffen steckt. Den sollen wir jetzt mal ausquetschen wie eine kleine Made.
Are we at all surprised that the UC has such a massive space dedicated to secrets?
Authorized personnel only. Your friend has to stay here.
Schnauze.
Fine. We'll wait here. You go on.
Ein Treasure gefällt das gar nicht. So, machen wir zu. So, du Hackfresse, willst du mir was erzählen oder was?
Well, what a pleasant surprise. When I heard you and Hadrian were headed for Londinian of all places, I presumed you must be onto something big. Did you find what you were looking for?
Nun, also, das haben wir noch viel mehr, stell dich nicht um. Wir wissen es, du steckst in den Angriffen. Tau City hieß es, nicht XY3Z, schade. Keine Ahnung, gibt es etwas, das du mir über deine Zeit in Londonien erzählen willst? Ja, wir kommen mal erstmal so.
I haven't been to Londinian in many years. Why? Is there some way I could be of assistance? Were you able to recover what you were
Naja, wir wissen, also theoretisch, also wir haben einen Hinweis, ne, aber theoretisch haben wir jetzt noch nichts Handfestes. Würde ich zumindest sagen. Aber wir sagen mal, wir haben was gefunden.
Good news then. So, what exactly are you doing here? Plenty still to be done in defeating the Terramorphs, no?
So, wir haben eine Aufzeichnung entdeckt. Du sprichst darüber, Terramorphs als Waffen zu nutzen. Ich weiß, dass du etwas mit den Angriffen auf den zu tun hast. Umgebracht und jetzt wirst du dafür gezahlt. Bestehe. Wir haben deine Aufzeichnung entdeckt.
Did you? Well, I don't know what you think you heard on this recording, but I sincerely hope you didn't come to the wrong conclusions. After all, given the Cabinet's current state of anxiety, they might misinterpret such a discovery to mean I could have been involved with the attacks. Perhaps I can convince you to keep this among us.
Warum sollte ich das für mich behalten? Nein, weiter, tut mir leid, das Kabinett wird davon erfahren. Ich werde niemanden einen Sterben verraten, ich werde die weiterfahren. Weißt du also wirklich nichts über die Angriffe? Willst du das damit sagen?
Of course. Do I look like I'm in any position to do what you're describing? So I'd very much appreciate your agreement to not share what you found. We wouldn't want anyone else jumping to conclusions now, would we?
Ich würde dem Kabinett das trotzdem, glaube ich, nicht vorenthalten. Selbst wenn das nicht das bedeutet, was wir denken, dass er hinter den Angriffen steckt, würde ich dem Kabinett trotzdem nicht die Aufzeichnung vorenthalten.
You know, you're far more clever than I expected. You want to hear the words, then? I did it. The Terramorph attacks on Tau City. New Atlantis. My doing. Years of coordination between my associate and I. Figuring out how to deploy the Lazarus plant's pollen outside of Londinian. Learning to synthesize it. Use it as a weapon. Now, being as clever as you are, I'm sure you have thoughts on why I might do such a thing.
Partner, mit wem arbeitest du denn zusammen?
All in due time. First, I want to see if you're truly as astute as you appear. So why would someone like me go through all this trouble?
Wie zeigt man den UC am besten, welche mächtige Waffe die Lazarus-Pflanze ist, indem man sie einsetzt? Das zu arbeiten, das wirkt, als wäre es etwas Persönliches, weil du wahnsinnig bist und der Mörder und nur lebst, um zu töten. Ich hätte gesagt, er sich vielleicht damit reinwaschen will. Ne, weil irgendwelche Angriffe, man weiß nicht, woher die kommen, und dann kommt er um die Ecke und hilft, das mit aufzuklären, und dann, ja, schwuppdiwuppdi, alles gut. Aber anscheinend,
Biding your time then?
will wir vielleicht aufzeigen, wie mächtig die Waffe ist.
Not a bad thought. But no. The attacks were a correction. When I discovered the plant, I did consider handing over what I'd found, but we were at war. And I couldn't risk information that dangerous falling into the wrong hands. So I ordered the bombing of the Londinian spaceport, fixing two problems at once. Halting the spread of the city's Terramorph outbreak, and sealing away knowledge of the plant's potential.
Du hast nicht mal deinen eigenen Leuten in den UC vertraut?
These were the final days of the colony war, Captain. The Freestar Collective had spies everywhere. I was concerned that if word got out, the Collective could swoop down, start breeding Lazarus plants, and overrun our worlds with waves of Terramorphs. Just like what was happening on Londinian at that very moment. Sealing off the city to prevent mass death? It was the only option that made sense at the time.
Tja, also das Ding ist, ich verstehe, es ist natürlich Bastard, aber ich verstehe, warum er damals den Raumhafen gesprengt hat. Ähm, um die Ausbreitung zumindest, also ganz verhindert hat er sie ja nicht, aber
Something
zu,
amiss, Captain.
zu entschleunigen, zu verlangsamen und um das mit der Pflanze halt verdeckt zu halten. Aber das hat nichts, meiner Meinung nach, nichts damit zu tun, was jetzt mit den Terrormorphs an Angriffen gekommen ist. Also da sehe ich auf zwei unterschiedlichen Tellern. Das eine kann ich verstehen, das letztere nicht. Deswegen kann ich verstehen, theoretisch, dass er die Information damals nicht rausgerückt hat. Aber jetzt das halt selbst als Waffe zu benutzen,
You have my undivided attention.
ja, ich gehe mal.
It's easy to judge now. In that moment, I wasn't about to add another dangerous variable to an already catastrophic war. But then, as the war
Ja,
ended,
das kann ich verstehen.
my trial, my execution, I made a decision. After all, I'd given everything for the colonies. My life as I knew it included. And what did I get in return? Was there any effort by the UC to protect my legacy? My daughter's legacy? No. We were sacrificed when all we did was serve. So I kept what I'd learned and arranged the attacks to set things right again. My daughter, she becomes a hero. I become a trusted advisor, having found Kaiser, the research team, and cement my new position of influence when I hand them the name of the person responsible for the attack on New Atlantis. The dear departed Dr. Reginald Orlays, the associate who aided me all these years, and whom I always slated to take the fall. What luck he was stopped dead before he could hurt anyone else. His decades on the run brought to an end by another unlikely hero. You.
Fuck. Ich bin gerade am Überlegen, konnte ich mich damals entscheiden, ob ich ihn lebendig nehme oder ob ich ihn töte oder musste ich ihn töten? Oh, fuck. Warum kommt mir der Name so bekannt vor? Alter, bist du eigentlich auf den Kopf gehauen? Also für mich ist das mittlerweile 2 Monate her oder so, aber selbst ich kann mich daran
Can't
erinnern.
remember the many lives you've taken. Orlays was the man whose death you brought about around the moon of Etheria. The pilot of the Warlock. The man I had to eliminate. To hide my secret.
Wie konntest du das alles von hier aus koordinieren?
It wasn't easy. But the beauty of being loathed is that people will do whatever they can not to deal with you. They wanted to pretend I didn't exist. And so I used their blind eye to my advantage. Still, establishing a back channel to Orlays via the UC recovery teams was painstaking work. I've led campaigns less nerve-wracking. They believed they were luring in wanted criminals, but were in fact delivering precisely encoded slates, filled with instructions invisible to any but their recipient, dropped off at just the right moments to fall into the proper hands. All without the UC realizing whom they were actually dealing with. Slow work. But as you can see, ultimately effective.
Und warum zur Hölle schert es dich, ob die UC dich als Berater wollen?
Why would I want to be
Naja,
in the
will
good
wieder hier
graces of
raus,
the people
oder?
who control my very life? outside these walls someday. A new face would be needed, of course, but it wasn't an impossibility. Though now, I'm not so sure.
Du hast also UC-Bürger umgebracht, weil deine Ehre angeknackst war? Du bist doch krank.
There are no heroes without a villain. I simply arranged the opportunity for us to overcome one and become the other. And we all benefited. It's why I had Orlays reprogram Kaiser. Had that old machine guide you to where I found the plant all those years ago.
Daher kannte er das.
I went to great lengths to ensure your and Hadrian's success. And look at the results. I know for a fact the Cabinet's planning to honor both you and Hadrian once this is all done. Isn't that preferable to languishing away in obscurity? Running jobs on the tail end of nowhere for the Vanguard? With only the vague hopes of perhaps earning the right to buy a home in the well someday.
Ich darf mir schon eins kaufen. Von welchen Ehrungen reden wir hier?
Something befitting the dedication to the colonies you two have shown. While, of course, they can't give you a command, responsibility like that has to be earned. The Cabinet does have access to considerable resources. I expect you'll be quite pleased with the result, and none of it would have happened without my intervention.
Falls du darauf wartest, dass ich Danke sage, werden wir eine Weile hier sein.
I'm simply looking for you to acknowledge the truth. And let's not forget the importance of our actual endgame. Eliminating the terramorphs. Securing knowledge of the Lazarus plant. What we've set in motion is going to protect thousands, maybe millions of lives. I'm simply requesting one more life be protected. Mine. I've already sent along the evidence of Orlays' role in the attacks to the Cabinet, leaving out my own involvement. All I ask is that you confirm as much to the Cabinet. Tell them that it was Orlays and Orlays alone. After all, I do still have a long list of threats to the UC. This needn't be the end of our good works together.
Glaubst du, ich vergesse einfach, dass du für deine guten Taten Menschen getötet hast?
And how many have you killed to get where you are now? There are no great works that don't cost lives, Captain.
Ich
Whether
habe
it's
aber
winning
keine
a war
Unschuldigen getötet.
or digging a tram tunnel. So we sacrificed a few dozen in the attacks to possibly protect millions. That seems like a fair exchange to me. I only hope you'll see the same and leave my name out of the discussions to come.
Wovon genau reden wir hier?
Hunting down criminals and other threats to the United Colonies. I expect they'll give me a bit more free range once this is all over. You would help me, like you did with Orlays. Track them down and keep them from doing harm to the United Colonies. Impossible, though, if the Cabinet learns I'm the one responsible for the attacks.
Ja, ich hoffe, du hast die Unterhaltung genossen. Wenn ich mit dem Kabinett rede, war es deine letzte.
That is a pity, Captain. But I'm in no position to negotiate. Though we needn't be enemies, you and I. Just think about the opportunity I've provided here. There are more on the horizon. If you do the right thing.
Das richtige Ding wäre, die Tür aufzumachen und dir meinen Granatwerfer so tief in den Arsch zu schieben, dass du es nicht mal mehr flupp machen hörst, wenn ich abdrücke. Moment. Häufig haben die Leute danach ja noch irgendwie was.
One detail
Ah, ja.
unaccounted for. And look what happens.
So, wie in aller Welt hast du es geschafft, die Lazarus-Pflanze in New Atlantis einzusetzen.
Once we'd cracked synthesizing the Lazarus plant's pollen, research that took years in and of itself, the attacks were exceedingly simple. Orlaze's ship would land on our target, bearing a few heat leeches. Nothing that would raise suspicion. Then Lazarus pollen was pumped out of the ship during liftoff from the planet's surface. Shortly thereafter, an attack. A strike perpetrated in mere moments, with no one being the wiser. Which is why the work you and Hadrian are doing now, the work I've put into motion, is so critical.
Könnte jemand anderes den Lazarus-Blütenstaub herstellen und es dir und Orlase nachtun?
Why? That's the very problem. Harvesting the pollen directly is impossible. Too fragile to leave Londinian's atmosphere. But with sufficient time and resources, a large entity like the UC or Freestar Collective could learn to synthesize the pollen, turning the Lazarus plant into a bioweapon unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. Thus why the Terramorphs need to be dealt with. It wasn't solely for the benefit of the Sanan name that I organized the attacks. Our work will protect many lives.
Sag mir, warum musste der Raumhafen von Londinium zerstört werden? Warum nicht alle evakuieren?
We were in the middle of an all-out war, Captain. Committing ships to save the city would have left another undefended. Which city would you prefer I'd sacrificed? Sidonia? Gagarin? New Atlantis? And if anyone else had learned about the Lazarus plant, well, the risk was too great. I weighed the options and made the call.
Wenn mir jemand das beantworten kann, dann du. Warum haben die UC den Koloniekrieg verloren?
I'll tell you why. Because the UC was, and is, full of people unwilling to pay the price required for victory. In the last days of the war, the UC was on the precipice of executing a final great assault on the Freestar Collective home system of Cheyenne. A massive strike, capable of obliterating Freestar Central Command and ending the conflict at long last.
Warum habt ihr so lange gewartet und nicht einfach die Führung frühzeitig ausgeschaltet?
I thought I'd had myself, but such invasions are costly, in resources and lives. Others in the UC believed the blockade would be sufficient to bring the Freestar Collective to its knees, but they were wrong. So instead, they sacrificed far more lives in a protracted war, rather than doing the right thing from the start, and demolishing the Freestar capital when they had the chance.
Right.
But just before we could launch the strike, word came from Londinian. The Terramorph outbreak had begun. I went to the city to assess the state of things, and discovered the Lazarus plant. We couldn't spare ships for a proper quarantine, so it was my decision to destroy the spaceport and seal off the city. Deal with it quickly, so we could get back to winning the war.
Wenn du in Londinium landen konntest, weshalb konntest du dann die Anwohner nicht evakuieren?
I had a single ship. What would you have had me do? Ask them and the Terramorphs to form a line, and the UC fleet was spread thin already. No, I touched down, assessed the situation, made a decision, and returned to the task at hand.
Naja, also wie gesagt, ne? Den Punkt kann ich noch nachvollziehen, auch wenn es natürlich keine gute Tat ist, aber den Punkt kann ich halt noch nachvollziehen. Tja. Erzähl weiter.
Very well. So upon my return from Londinian, we proceeded with our killing blow. Initially, we had great success against the mess the Freestar Collective called a navy. But then the Freestar citizenry decided to get involved. Dozens of civilian ships jumping in to shield their military counterparts. I, of course, had no trouble firing on what should have been designated enemy vessels. But my peers had lost the stomach for it. So many lives lost already, they wailed. So the great UC Navy was routed by a mob. They picked our ships apart. The UC surrendered not long after. And thus rang the death knell for the great UC.
Von Zivilisten besiegt. Klingt wie ausgleichende Gerechtigkeit für die zivilen Opfer in London.
It's human nature to see patterns, even when there are none. What ended the colony war was cowardice. Nothing less.
Feigheit auf Zivilisten zu schießen, oder was? Naja. Bitte, bitte, bitte. Lasst mich derjenige sein, der ihn erschießen kann. Bitte.
Authorized personnel only. Friend has to stay here.
You have my attention. I will watch your back.
Dankeschön. Nee, da sollten wir nicht. Hier lang. Ich weiß nicht, ob Lachen so gut ist. Mit einem frisch gezogenen Zahn. Die sind an der Mauer. Scheiße, Alter. Bonjour.
Perfect timing. We just got in.
So on our end, good news. The microbe and the Aciles are both as effective against heat leeches as they are against terramorphs.
Means either plan should work for clearing those critters off our worlds.
Considering what the Lazarus plant is capable of, I don't think we can deal with those things fast enough. I already sent along info to the cabinet to get them up to speed. So what about your end? Did you find anything? Did my father tell you what he knew about the Lazarus plant?
Ja. Vae Victus hat gestanden, er hat die Angriffe aus seiner Zelle organisiert.
I knew it. The second I heard that recording, I knew. Why? Did he say why he did it?
Seine Ehre. Wollte den Namen Sternen reinwaschen, wollte dich und ihn zu Helden machen.
It takes some deeply twisted logic to think anything did more harm to the Sanan name than him.
Somehow, after all that has transpired, he still believes himself to be the hero. He created this whole situation just so others would see him the way he sees himself. But all it has done is further expose him for what he really is.
Well, once we inform the cabinet, they can ensure he won't be able to do anything like this ever again.
Was wird das Kabinett wohl mit ihm machen?
My hope would be that whatever connections he's got to the outside world disappear. Make sure his future schemes and machinations stay in his cell with him. But honestly, I'm not sure. He's in a unique position and has done a special kind of harm to the colonies.
Ja, er wollte, dass wir es verschweigen, weil er Leben rettet.
I'm sure he did. But he killed dozens of people. And I'm not about to let him get away with something like that. So I guess that gives us our final answer. Nothing left to do but head in and see what the cabinet thinks of it all. Unless there was more to discuss. This might be our last opportunity to talk things through before the cabinet weighs in on a decision regarding the terramorphs.
Also, beide Methoden sind effektiv gegen Thermoparasiten.
They are.
Microbe needed minimal adjustment to account for heat leech anatomy.
And the Aciles seem like they're even better at tracking leeches than morphs.
Hell of a sight to watch, though, when they catch them. Like an open airlock guzzling angry spaghetti.
Welche Risiken gibt es, wenn wir die Aciles zurückholen?
Aciles aren't hostile to humans, but they are megafauna. If someone decides to pick a fight with one, it could get ugly. But they've already been spread far and wide once before when the UC was raising them as livestock, so the risk of introducing them to new worlds is minimal. Using them to clean up the terramorphs and leeches, though, it's not going to be nearly as expedient as the microbe would be. Given what we know now about the Lazarus plant, the speed of the job does matter. But going with the Asylees, we're at least dealing with known risks.
Was glaubst du, wird das Kabinett machen, wenn Vae Victus Beteiligung an den Angriffen rauskommt?
It's hard to know. Unlike my father, the cabinet aren't butchers. But killing UC citizens, along with everything else he's done, is unforgivable. But if you're really that concerned, you could request they be lenient. They might be willing to spare him.
Weiß ich nicht. Welche Methode für die Bekämpfung der Terramorphs zieht ihr beiden vor?
Microbe is gonna make the cleanup a whole lot quicker. If we're concerned about this Lazarus plant getting deployed again, that's the way to go.
The cabinet can secure the Lazarus plant, and then we're not risking any surprises when it comes to dealing with a microbe.
You're being paranoid. You know the science. You know we can make this safe.
I do know the science. I also know math. And a 1 in a million chance of a mutation isn't 0. So I guess we're still in discussion. Probably best at this point to let the cabinet weigh in. See if they have a preference.
Okay, also sie ist eher für die Asylees, oder was? Okay.
And here we go.
Dann wollen wir mal zum Kabinett. Das finde ich nett. Moin, was geht?
Welcome back, all of you. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. But according to Hadrian's report, and the second one I just received, it seems the Terramorph attack on New Atlantis was no random occurrence, but a planned strike. Is what I'm reading here true?
Von wem ist denn dieser Bericht?
This report comes from a particularly confidential source both you and I are familiar with, yes. Among the reasons its findings are so alarming. Now, is it true? Was the attack on New Atlantis planned?
Okay, also redet sie von dem Bericht von Vae Victus, nehme ich mal an. Und ich sag mal, wir haben den Schuldigen gefunden.
The second report claims to know the perpetrator as well. Did Reginald Orlays actually commit these attacks, Captain?
Orlays?
Nein. Ja, lassen wir mal Hadrian.
Well, ma'am, it seems your report is incorrect. Francois Sanon was responsible for the attacks.
He did what?
That's impossible. He doesn't have the kind of access to...
Clearly, he made his own access, Chief Sarkin. Madam President, I have been saying for years that not dealing with that man was going to end in tragedy.
Enough! I hope everyone here understands that what has just been shared is a state secret of the highest order. This information does not leave this room. Now, that's quite the accusation your group is leveling. Seeing as Francois Sanon has not left containment for the better part of 2 decades. You have evidence to back this up?
Ja, wir übergeben mal. Bevor da noch irgendwie was...
It just transformed. A terramorph out of thin air. An invisible weapon. No planet would be safe.
Heavens help us. Is that actually him?
I'd know that voice anywhere. That's Francois.
He knew they could do this. And said nothing.
He's a sociopath. Plain and simple, ma'am.
Officer, please collect that recording.
Yes, ma'am. Begging your pardon, Captain.
We'll, of course, be launching a full investigation into how this could have happened. Though I have little doubt the Admiral will be quick to share all he knows on the subject once confronted with that recording. Chief Yassine, Can you send one of your interrogators to have a little chat with the Admiral?
I'll issue the order immediately.
Good. Combined with everything else you all have uncovered. Well, I don't think the United Colonies can thank you enough. We failed the people of the colonies by not dealing with Vae Victus sooner. I intend to rectify that mistake immediately.
Ja, das klang doch schon mal ganz gut. Was wird dann mit ihm geschehen?
That will be up to the cabinet to decide. But I don't appreciate our mercy being taken advantage of.
Könnt ihr seinen Kontakt nach außen kappen? Er hat UC-Funktionäre als Kommunikationsweg missbraucht.
That's truly disconcerting to hear. But cutting off Vae Victus' contact with the outside world is likely to be just the beginning of his punishment.
Also, ja, also ich würde mal sagen, also, Kopf ab.
I'm inclined to agree, Captain. Now, with our villain unmasked, we can attend to the other matters at hand. With the threads you've brought together here, the Lazarus plant, the attacks, the heat leeches, the three of you have likely spared thousands of lives. But it now falls to the cabinet to ensure this can never happen again. As such, the cabinet will be securing the Lazarus plant on Londinian. All materials related to the plant will be classified to ensure no one else learns its true nature.
A sound decision, Madam President.
Was werden die UC unternehmen, um die Lazarus-Pflanze zu schützen?
Well, luckily the natural hostility of Londinian makes keeping out trespassers relatively easy. But we'll ensure its growth is contained, that access to the plant is only permitted via highly regulated clearances, and that our troop presence on Londinian is increased.
Die anderen Fraktionen mit einbinden? Birgt natürlich gewisse Risiken. Auf der anderen Seite sind wir ja nicht mehr im Krieg. Und ja, das aufzuteilen, die Aufgabe, dass jeder sein Hut da drin hat, zeigt zum einen, dass man den anderen vertraut, ja, was für zukünftige Zusammenarbeit nicht schlecht wäre. Also würde ich sagen, Ma'am, ich finde, die anderen Fraktionen sollten beim Sichern der Lazarus-Pflanze auch eingebunden sein.
Tell the Freestar Collective. Wow. So they have another tool to utilize against us?
I'm in agreement. I fail to see the value here.
Die UC haben jetzt nicht besonders viel geleistet. Es würde den Collective zeigen, dass die UC nicht insgeheim plant, sie irgendwann einzusetzen. Ja.
These are topics of the Any effort to de-escalate the situation should be considered. Being as open as possible would be a valuable move.
That is an interesting idea. A grand gesture to further display this cabinet doesn't think like those of the past.
The observers on Mars have proven such a gesture can bear fruit.
So, you want us to make nice with the collective by sharing our state secrets?
No, I want us to display plainly the UC's actual intentions, that the plant will never be used as a weapon again.
That does sound worthwhile, Chief Kulkarni. Very well. We'll get the collective involved in the management. Thank you for the suggestion, Captain. So then, to our final topic. The Cabinet has agreed to implement a plan that will deal with the Terramorph, and now also Heat Leech presence on human worlds. In fact, we've already begun enacting measures to check all UC ports and settlements for undiscovered nests. But we all understand this is only a partial solution. The project we're embarking on will be a long and difficult one. So our first step must be deciding how exactly this all will be handled.
Madam President, this microbe is clearly too much of a risk. The Aseles are the safer approach.
To someone with limited knowledge of biology, perhaps. The technology behind the microbe is solved science, Madam President. It isn't dangerous. Using it to wipe out the Terramorphs would be the quickest path to protecting humanity.
And fast results always lead to the best outcomes, don't they?
As you can see, there remains debate among the Cabinet. We were hoping your group might issue a recommendation. Major?
We've been having similar debates ourselves, but the captain has yet to weigh in.
I see. Captain, I know this may not be your area of expertise, but we'd like to know your take on the matter.
Nee, es ist auf jeden Fall nicht genug, wenn wir nur die Lazarus-Pflanze sichern, weil die beschleunigt ja nur das Wachstum der Terramorphs. Und die werden ja auch ohne, werden die ja auch zu Terramorphs, die Heat Leeches. Tja, also, ja, der eine hat jetzt gesagt, die Aseles sind am sichersten, der andere hat jetzt gesagt, die Mikrobe ist schnell und sicher. Also, wenn die Mikrobe schnell und sicher ist, warum nicht? Man, klar, kann natürlich irgendwie was schief laufen, man kennt's, ne? Aber man muss halt auch sehen, man muss halt jeden Planeten, jeden Mond, jedes Raumschiff muss geklärt werden. Und ich glaube nicht, dass Aseles das alles hinkriegen können. Weil zum einen sind die scheiße groß, können also nicht überall hin. Aber ich habe noch Fragen.
Please.
Vielleicht
Ask.
erfahren wir ja noch was. Was sind die Risiken, sollten die Aseles zurückgebracht werden?
I can feel this one. While intimidating creatures, certainly, Aseles are docile unless provoked. They're honestly closer to oversized mobile scanners than deadly predators.
The concern is that, while all proposed methods will be long-term efforts, the Aseles are the slowest. Slow to breed, slow to deploy. We do everything we could to accelerate that process, including mustering some of our mothballed cloning technologies. But if we do elect to use this method, we'll be doing things at the pace of a megafauna, which is not an expedient one.
Wie wahrscheinlich ist es wirklich, dass die Mikrobe Menschen und andere Spezies schaden könnte?
Infinitesimally low.
But not zero.
The chance of a starship landing on you as you sit here isn't zero, yet you still attended. Personally, my fear isn't mutation, but Terramorphs developing a resistance. But that's something our group can continue to address if we decide to take this approach, as I believe we should.
Resistenzien. Werden die anderen Fraktionen auch bei der Aufräumaktion dabei sein?
This won't work without them.
Exactly right, ma'am. The Interstellar Affairs Office has already begun reaching out to worlds throughout the settled systems, informing them of the risks we're all facing, and that the UC has a plan to prevent what happened on New Atlantis from happening elsewhere. Thus far, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. The spirit of mutual cooperation displayed between the UC and the Freestar Collective in managing the Terramorph data set a good tone for the work we're doing, Captain. We expect we'll hit some resistance, but our office has plenty of carrots and sticks to ensure the program's widespread success.
Wer genau wird all diese Arbeit machen? Wer wird den von uns beschlossenen Plan in die Tat umsetzen?
The responsibilities will be spread across multiple branches of the UC. Research and day-to-day administration will be handled by a new group under the Science Division. All diplomatic concerns and coordination will fall to Chief Yassine and Interstellar Affairs. But most of the actual on-the-ground work, that'll be handled by the Vanguard.
Mhm.
Very well. Then did you have a preference on the method we should deploy?
Ja, ich würde dann sagen, wir machen die Mikrobe.
Glad to see someone's not afraid of a little applied genetics. The science division is in full agreement.
Let us hope this science
Oh.
division truly knows what they are doing.
Grand threats merit grand actions, and grand actions are precisely what our group does.
Order, please. And Major Sinan? Dr. Walker, you'd find this acceptable?
We trust the captain's judgment.
Then the matter is settled. We'll begin the process immediately. Today marks day 1 for the United Colonies Terramorph Management Division, making you 3 the founding members of the TMD. As befits such a group, the Cabinet wanted to display its gratitude. Today, we will be adding 3 new Class 1 citizens to our ranks.
Class 1? For the 3 of us? Are you joking?
Was heißt
What
das?
he means to say is, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Ja, was ist ein Bürger der Klasse 1?
It's a status reserved only for those who've dedicated their lives to the United Colonies, or done great things for its cause. Class 1s enjoy an ample credit disbursement, an additional reduction on the cost of colonial goods. And I'm told the penthouse is rather impressive.
Mhm. Ja, vielen Dank.
You all have earned it. Now, there's much to be done. Major Sinan, Dr. Walker, I hope you two are willing to continue your efforts spearheading the TMD's research on Mars.
We'd be honored, ma'am.
And as a member of both the Vanguard and the TMD, I believe you, Captain, will have your pick of duties. Speak to your commander, Tuala, if I recall correctly. He should be able to provide you with assignments going forward, plus help you collect the benefits that come with being named Class 1. On behalf of the whole of the United Colonies, you have our sincerest gratitude. This meeting is adjourned.
Nice. Was zu sagen?
Seems like the
Captain?
Crimson Fleet is
I guess
everywhere
we've
these
got our
days,
assignments.
spreading like a virus
I just
through
wanted to
settled
say,
systems.
I could have never guessed where all this was going to lead. But now, knowing what I do, that my father truly is the monster I always thought he was. Well, I've just spent a lot of my life in pursuit of the truth. So, you bringing it straight to me, it just means a lot.
Ja, nicht der Rede wert, wir sind Freunde. Freunde passen aufeinander auf.
The best ones certainly do. You know, I was thinking, while we were there on the podium, if I wanted to try and see him again. After all, it could be my last chance. But I knew the answer before I even finished the thought. I didn't. Because confronting him, what would I gain from that? From letting him remind me I can never truly be rid of him? Nothing. Now, all I'd be doing is acknowledging that he still has some sway over my life. And while I can't do anything about his role in my past, I'm not about to let him control my future. And thanks to what we've done together, that future is brighter than it has been in a long time. Words can't do justice to how grateful I am for that.
Ich bin froh, dass ich helfe.
Well, I think it's safe to say you succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. It's been an honor, Captain. Good luck out there.
Die auch, die auch, die auch. Und alle anderen sind schon weg. Naja. Schade. Was soll man tun? Also, Tual. Rituale der
If
Koa.
we can avoid entering that building, I would prefer it. Let us just say I am allergic to bureaucracy.
Aber wir waren in dem Gebäude doch schon drin.
Informed us of your new status. Congratulations on making Class 1.
So.
Well, well, I've got to say, this is a first. I've never had a Class 1 citizen in my ranks before. Congratulations, Captain.
Kannst du mir noch mal sagen, was ein Bürger der Klasse 1
It's
ist?
a high honor. Have to do something big for the colonies to earn that sort of designation. Only ever met a couple myself, and certainly never given one orders. You should be real proud.
Danke, Commander. Ist mir eine Ehre.
No need to thank me. You brought this all on yourself. I've already gone ahead and processed your Class 1 benefits. All UC goods and services should now have a thanks for protecting the colonies discount. And the credits should be in your accounts now. But to get into your penthouse, you'll have to pay a visit to the Aphelion Realty office. They should be able to grant you access.
12.000. Wo ist denn dieses Immobilienbüro?
Just out the front door and across the plaza, by the embassies. Look for the Aphelion sign.
Ich würde lieber Motoröl trinken, als in New Atlantis zu nehmen. What the fuck? Das ist sehr gut.
Higher-ups wanted to make sure you know how much they appreciate what you've done. But with all that squared, it's time to get you a new assignment. There are your standard Vanguard missions, putting those pilot skills to use defending UC space. Or you could help the TMD in cleaning up terramorphs. Oh, and I got a request from Dr. Walker. Wanted your help collecting biological samples to keep an eye out for any, new alien threats on the horizon. Any of those missions call to you?
Terramorphs jagen klingt spaßig.
Any chance to bag some bugs, right? Well, I can provide. Let me just check my logs. Okay, these coordinates should get you to your first target. There. These missions are straightforward. Proceed to the location, kill the critter before it can do any more harm. Just be smart out there. Don't want you getting banged up too bad on your first hunt. Super et ultra, Captain.
Okay.
What can I do for you? Could use a hand clearing out some. You interested?
Oh. Jetzt habe ich das übersprungen, weil ich dachte, das wäre nur so ein Zwischending. Ich bin dabei.
Let's get you the details. Just getting those coordinates to you now. Report says ships at these coordinates fired on United Colonies craft. You're cleared to use lethal force if necessary. Attack. Head to that sector and show those craft how to fly smart out there.
Also, das ist, glaube ich, das Immobilienbüro, ne? Hui.
I'm always ready to make a deal. Well, well, if it isn't the United Colony's newest Class 1 citizen. You've made quite a name for yourself in New Atlantis. In fact, the higher-ups want to thank you for your dedicated service by giving you one of the nicest pieces of real estate in the city. It's a premium penthouse at the top of Mercury Tower. Best location in New Atlantis, in my professional opinion. What do you say? It'll just take a second to get you registered as the owner.
Ja, gib mal her.
Great. You're in for a real treat. It's one of my favorite apartments in the city. Okay, you're all set. Your new home's located in Mercury Tower in the residential district. You'll love the place. It has a gorgeous floor plan and an unbeatable view of the city. Now that you're an owner, I'm sure I'll be seeing you around town.
Okay. Jetzt hat er das nicht. Aktivitäten. Da. Hä? Ach, dahin. Geil, das heißt, ich habe ein Zimmer in der Lodge, ich habe ein Apartment, beziehungsweise ich habe ein Penthouse hier. Neo Atlantis noch. Ich habe ein Haus in der Kieler City. Ob es eine Trophäe gibt, wenn man sich überall ein Haus zulegt? Mercury Tower. Dann wollen wir mal. Ja, Andreja ist auch schon ganz aufgeregt.
What does your scanner reveal?
Da schwebt eine Antenne oder so. Das ist in der Tat ein sehr schönes Penthouse. Ach du Scheiße, Digga, wie groß ist denn das hier? Ach du Schande. Guck mal da, unser Schiff. Ja, moin. Also ich glaube, wenn es regnet, erfahren wir es als Erste. Sag mal, wie viele Toiletten, Badezimmer und sowas haben wir denn? Natürlich, hier ist auch noch ein Zimmer. Eine Waschmaschine. Ja, okay, und hier könnten wir dann dekorieren. Ja, okay. Nice, nehmen wir mit. Aber ich glaube, ich werde das zumindest in nächster Zeit nicht dekorieren. Wir haben das jetzt erstmal. Das muss uns genügen. Wo ist er denn? Ist er auf dem Mars schon wieder? Jo, er ist schon wieder auf dem Mars. Leck mich doch am Arsch. Aber gut, wir müssen eh einmal ins Sonnensystem für die Mission. Jo. Keine Ahnung, wo Kodos ist. Dann sollen wir ja auch für die Constellation. Gibt es zur Nova Galactic Forschungsstation auf Luna. Dann würde ich sagen, schalten wir vielleicht erstmal die Feinde aus.
So after an hour of whining.
Good news. They're going to let me pitch my
Zum Raumhafen, bitte. Dann heben wir mal ab.